Hi, everyone, and welcome to Soundscape and Mindful Meditations, a podcast where we explore the transformative power of meditation, sound healing, mindfulness, and so much more. I am Amandine, your guide through this journey toward inner balance and harmony. In this episode, we are going to delve into the interplay between music, mindfulness, and all the mystical currents that are beneath the surface of our everyday lives and our creativity. Today, I had the pleasure of sitting down with a remarkable guest, London from Small Lake Sing Ships. He joined me on this interview despite being very busy with their upcoming tour. So, if you're curious, I highly recommend you tuning in. If you live on the West Coast, they are about to start touring. Feel free to check them out on their website, smallleaks.com. And yeah, check out their new album. They had been working on this new album for over 5 years. So uh, it's pretty exciting. And it was super exciting for me to interview him about his relationship to intuition and mindfulness and spirituality in regards to the creative process that he has in the band. So, all right, let's tune in. You're in for it?
Yeah,
Um, cool. Well, thank you for doing that.
of course.
To start us off, I wanted you to share a little bit about your band, Small Mixing Ships, and how the band came to be, and yeah, a little background.
Man, it's been a long time now. We've been together for quite a while. Originally, me and my bass player Jim played in an old band together. That kind of, long story short, fell apart, didn't work out. I was working at a rock climbing gym, which is where I met Judd, and then we started to play together in that same old band, and then we all kind of just didn't agree with the singer, so we booted the singer, and then me and Judd started singing. And so the first album, I think we had studio time already booked out in Florida with that original band. We're like, all right, do we cancel this studio time, or do we try to make a record in 6 months and still go do it? So we picked the latter, went out there, still ended up writing lyrics and a lot of the finishing aspects of the song on the road out to Florida. Stayed in Florida for a month. St. Augustine, I think, was the city. And yeah, recorded our first album. And man, went through so many obstacles after that. We added two more members to the band before our first EP following that, which I think was 2010, I'm pretty sure. It's been so long now. And then...
It's super interesting what you're saying, and I'm sorry if I was about to cut you.
Oh, no, you're fine.
But you say that, you had a lot of challenges, through the path. Did you ever feel at some point like we're going down the wrong path? Or did you feel like, no, this is the right thing to do? I feel inspired that this is what I need to do. Is like your intuition or like, something told you like keep going, or there was it the other way around?
I definitely feel like it was like 100% intuition going down the right path, not even questioning it. I think even when it came to the decision of like letting go of our original singer and all of us being like, oh, but we don't have a singer, I was like, I don't care, we'll sing. It was just not even a thought. I was like, why stay in this kind of negative energy, something we don't see a good future with, instead of, because at the time, me and Judd had just moved in with each other. And so we just started playing together, and like I was hearing him sing for the first time, and he was kind of hearing me sing for the first time, and we were like, "Oh, we like each other's voices, then we like our singer right now, so why not do this?" But I think it was just still hard because it was like you have those ties with someone already, and then you have to be like, "Hey, see ya, it's over." It is. It's like breaking up. It really is like breaking up with someone, and then, but yeah, after that, it was everything just felt like just keep going with the flow and go down the right path. The more the obstacles after that, because that was really the only obstacle that took a decision or a choice. All the obstacles after that were out of our control. It's like once we got two more members, we were already in the position like we want more instruments, we're playing more instruments, we need two more players, and then we added Raphael and Ryan to the band in 2010, and they came to practice the same day. We were a 5-piece for years, but I think that's when it started. You know, Ryan got in a horrific motorcycle accident that took almost a year to recover from. We had tours set up. Tours got canceled because of that. By the time Ryan got healthy again, we started booking again. We started writing again. And then, you know, sure enough, it seemed like a blink of an eye, Judd got diagnosed with cancer. And then that was a whole ordeal. That was another year. So there was this like 2 to almost 3 year hiatus of getting the ball rolling, everyone finding out about Small Leaks, and then boom, dying, or in a very physical sense of the matter, being on the brink of death for both of them, because they were both of them, you know, not said lightly at all, but both of them were like at the edge of death. There was moments they were sitting there like, are you gonna make it, you know? Yeah. For both of them. And by the time Judd got, and I've told this story before, but by the time Judd got healthy, our other guitar player, Raphael, he got in a Vespa wreck and broke his clavicle in 4 places. So it was just kind of like one thing after another, until we were living in Arizona at the time. And I think when we finally finished this album that was almost 8 years in the making, between all of that, we had moved out to Portland. And then I think that's when like a totally new chapter started, and Raphael couldn't go. So it was just the 4 of us. That kind of leads us up today, you know?
Yeah. And then COVID happened, so it wasn't over.
Then COVID happened, yeah. Put out another record, 2017, got signed by a label, went on a big U.S. tour, and then after that, the whole world shut down.
Yeah. So I want to bring you on a, slightly different mindset. Mm-hmm. After you explain, this whole crazy path. How do you personally define spirituality? And what way does it influence your creativity in your music and your choices?
I mean, spirituality, I think, is probably different for everybody. For me personally, I think when it started out, like, I wasn't a spiritual person at all. I mean, I was very anti-spiritual. I was like full-on atheist without saying it, you know? And meeting Judd and my current wife, my girlfriend at the time, that kind of all happened at the same time. And both them, I think, had big religious backgrounds, but still, it held with them, where my religious background kind of ruined it for me. I was like, I don't want anything to do with this. So originally I just started like, I don't know. I was very antagonistic, but I think they were both very strong in their faith, where it didn't bother them. So they just totally stood with it, and I respected that. I always respect that with people, and I think that instead of them pushing something on me, where they just kind of held their own, it opened my mind up to like, okay, I'll listen more. And I think that's all it took, and that is what spirituality is to me. I say that story because spirituality to me is staying open to a line of communication that isn't tangible, that you can't measure, and I think we're always doing that as humans, like, show me the evidence, measure this, and it's like, well, how are you going to use a ruler to measure something that has no measurement in a linear scale, and that is, to me, the definition of spirituality. And I do believe in a maker, a creator, something higher than myself that I belong to, that I came from. And so spirituality to me is communication with that source, with the origins of myself, where I came from, where I'm going after this. And I do believe this place is the more temporal aspect of existence. So, in a nutshell.
Many artists speak of a flow state. Does it ever happen to you? That moment where you're like doing your music and you feel like in that place.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's the best place to be in, because like you're not questioning anything. There's no anxiety or depression or any of these like kind of human traits, I guess, when it comes to it. You are just, I mean, it's the wave. I've always said that too, like, regardless of music, but just being on the wave and being as open and fluid as possible. And when you do, I think I've told Judd this before too, it's like, it's okay to hold on onto something, just don't grasp too tight. You
Mm-hmm.
know, hold it with an open hand, but still carry it, you know.
I
And
like what you're
that's
saying that I've heard once. Yeah, if you hold too tight, it's kind of like having a bird in your hand.
totally
If you hold it too tight, it's gonna
I'm gonna
die.
suffocate it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's I think that's the same for your own personal dreams or aspirations or goals or just what you love, what you're passionate about. So with music, yeah, you want to be in that flow state because you're allowing a channel of communication to come through you. When it comes to the creative process, anyways, yeah, I think it's the place I'm thinking least. I'm just like I'm going with it. I think that's why I like to play like a lot of loops and buttons and make the sounds just with you know the sound of my voice and then affect it and like just keep going. That's total flow state for me.
Yeah, to not stop the flow state by getting the instrument and just try to stay in that zone.
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. As a singer, I can relate to that.
Yeah, that's what makes recording weird, I think, because recording now you need to capture this thing, but then you also want it, you know that's there's a permanence now to it. So you're like, okay, now I have to record this flow state, which is almost that's a strange thing to battle with because you're like, oh, I still want it to come out that way. I don't want it to feel controlled now. So
Yeah.
it's a weird dynamic.
It really is. I think the best part is when you're not expecting it to happen.
Right.
And you're just recording just for the heck of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're like, wait, did something magical just happen?
Yeah,
Did we
see?
happen to have recorded? All right. The next question I have for you is related to intuition again, and how it can be a very powerful force in music and creativity. And so I was curious if you could share an experience where intuition played a key role in the development of a song or an album or a creative project.
I'd say the most recent one is specifically the song Buying Time on our last album, Low Tide, which is the last song on the record. And I bring that one up because, you know, this was a record where there were songs we were like, I don't know if it's going to go on it. There's songs like, well, I like these parts, but we need to figure this out. And Buying Time was a completely different song than it is now. And I think Judd was more on the fence of like, this ain't going on the record. And there was this part in it, I was just like, this part is too good not to go on the record. Mm-hmm. And obviously we can't just stick this one part. It's like, well, song 10's a bridge, you know, and that doesn't do it. But I was sitting in here, everything was in the computer, so it was in the recorded state already. And I just started taking pieces that were already cut. So I deleted everything on the front end and the back end of the song and just kept that one part that we loved. And then I started taking pieces from that and putting it on the front and layering it different, almost like building this puzzle. But I didn't know what I wasn't going for anything specifically, and I was just trusting the process of what was happening. And it got to the point, I remember Judd sitting back here, and at one point I was like getting excited, and I turned around, and he was just like asleep on the couch. I was like, all right, I'm gonna keep going. So I just started taking these vocals, I was pitch shifting them, but then I kept staggering them, like things you wouldn't normally do. Like producers would tell you all the time, like, oh, you don't want to do that. And I was like offsetting stuff so nothing lined up, and it was just becoming this really weird moving snake almost the whole time, to where once I stood back and listened to it, I was like, now we have bones to work with, you know. Where before it was like, what, you know, how did it even get there? Where I listened to the original song and I listened to this song, and I know intuition took it was like the big factor in it, because I still, with saying that, I still don't know exactly. I was like, how did we make that? Like, how was that put together, you know? So it had to have just been in that process of being, I think. Yeah.
I like that. How do you handle creative differences that arise in the band? Like, you know, is there any spirituality or, you know, intuition playing a role in how you resolve the conflicts, or not at all? Or
I think with us, it's definitely more of a being very upfront. So it's a little more black and white, because I think because we're such different people, just on a listening standpoint, like we all listen to such different music and are inspired by different things. We have connections between each one of us, like me and Ryan have a certain chemistry, or Judd and me have a certain chemistry, or Judd and Jim have a certain chemistry that works out really well. And so I think you have to know when to kind of stand back, and if there's two people that this is what is being born out of those two, you got to kind of just be that like mobile part and be like, all right, let's go with this. This is nice. But also, if it's something you're not into, there is this weird, like, well, what's the majority, you know? Is it 3 against 1? Do all 3 you think this is dope? And I'm just like, it doesn't do it for me. Uh, it's strange. It is. You know, it's communication at its core. Some of that is actual communication, and some of it is, you know, the communication of standing back and letting something work its way out, even if you don't get it, you know, even if it's not necessarily for you, because it's pretty cool to still get to the end of the record and go, you know, there might have been one point where I didn't like this part of a song or this part of a song, and then getting to the point I'm like, I like all of it now, you know, something there worked out.
Yeah. I remember my days being in a band. It felt like it was kind of like being in a couple, but times the amount of people.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my God, now it's not just one person I need to work with. Now it's like 3, 4, 5, you know?
Totally.
And it's also hard, especially since we're, you know, talking about intuition and things like that, to know when, okay, I need to follow my guts, and I'm hard on that this is the way to make the song, and when to say, like you just said, like, okay, many of you are thinking, you know, and so have the intuition to follow somebody else's intuition, or do you follow your own intuition? It kind of becomes like this weird alchemy within of like, okay, which path is the right one?
And there's conflict there, you know, there's a weird power struggle where I think I've gotten a lot better. I used to be a lot more controlling with how songs would come to be, where I'm not as much anymore. But like you said, there is the every once in a while where I'm like, I'm sure, you know, where we did a cover of Girls Just Want to Have Fun on this record, and I became extremely adamant about how this turned out. Like, I just had that. I'm like, nope, this is how it's going. Nope, 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 nope. Where everything else on the record, I was like, all right, I can see how this, okay, cool. You know, dancing with each other in a weird way, but Girls Just Want to Have Fun was anytime someone would be like, I'm like, wait, just wait, no, just wait, you know.
Well, you also brought the song, so that was kind of like your baby, and
sure.
You had like this, concept. Yeah. That's cool. Another question that I had is, I know for a fact that you do meditations. Mm-hmm. And do you have like a sort of a ritual connected to create the creative process, you know, and make music making? Do you meditate before? Do you meditate after? Or how does it work for you?
When at one point, so when we still lived in Arizona, you know, there was one point where me, Ryan, and Judd all lived together. And so when we were practicing 3 days a week, you know, the whole studio was in the house. We always meditated for 20 minutes as a band in the dark, just sitting in the band room. We'd create some kind of intention. We'd meditate for 20 minutes and then we'd start practicing. Now that we all live in different places, that's not really the case. And so I don't find myself doing it right before creating. It's more of the traditional, like personal tradition of, it's the first thing I do when I wake up. I think that's the most important. I'd like to do it more before I go to bed, but I don't. It's the truth. But yeah, every morning I tend to, that's the first thing I do. I get up, I get out of bed, I go to my living room, I sit in the same place, I meditate for anywhere between 10 and 45 minutes. Lately it's been closer to 10 minutes. I think just with, you know, that's what's funny about meditation too, is meditation will tell you, yeah, life's getting more hectic, there's more things happening, you should probably meditate for 45 minutes. But it's so hard because you're like, you know, you get to that 10-minute part and you're thinking about it more. It's weird because there's all these compartmentalized complexities in your life that you're trying to figure out, when meditation is supposed to be like, let it be, do your thing. So yeah, I need to start doing longer ones for sure.
Yeah, you're preaching to the choir. I used to do an hour a day for 2 years, and I was so, you know, zen. Now with a kid, I'm kind of like you. I'm down to 10 minutes.
Yep.
But better 10 than, you know, not at all.
Right.
Like, I don't know about you, but I can definitely feel, usually it would take like 3 weeks. After 3 weeks of not meditating, I could feel like a shift in the way I would apprehend my day or receive information, you know. Would be more emotional than zen about whatever was happening. And so yeah, at least it's 10 minutes. But yeah, you're like, shoot, I know that I'm getting tired, so I'm more stressed, so I'm more X, Y, and Z, and that's when you need to increase the amount. But at the same time, I want to say, when you have your head going all over the place because, you're at your 10 minutes already and you have this and you have that, that's even a better challenge
Yeah,
meditation wise.
big time. Like, I don't know if you do this, but I've even noticed myself now. It's like I don't do as much on the weekends. I try to keep my weekends open and clear my head from everything I have going on. Where I don't even go to the studios on the weekend. But do you do this now that I don't have that? I'm still not. I don't meditate at all on the weekends, and like why? It's like I have more time. I don't know if you do. You still meditate on the weekends, or your days you have off are less going on.
Honestly, I meditate when Judd gets up before me.
Okay.
And that, I have this short window in the morning when he's with the baby. And so I do my meditation and then I do about 10 minutes of yoga.
Okay.
So if I'm the first one, to get up, I've lost that track, already started to engage with people. I've had my coffee or my breakfast, and that's the last thing that I want to do with a full belly, is like
Right.
move and then meditate. But if I manage to get that moment, it doesn't matter if it's weekday or a weekend. Since I only, do like a 10 minutes and 10 minutes, I'm like, okay, I can take away like, 20 minutes out of my morning. And I used to like sometimes go on the phone and check Facebook or whatever stupid things. Well, I was like, instead of looking at that or looking at the news and feel the energy go down very quickly, how about I use the 20 minutes, doing something uplifting. So that's
sure.
kind of how it works for me.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But maybe sometimes it's also, you have more time, but it's not really about the time that you have, because you have all the time, in the world. It's how your energy wants to go. Maybe your mindset is like, oh, this is the weekend, I can do whatever. And so a part of you feels like freed from any of the usual things that you do on the weekday, and meditation being part of it. Maybe your brain is like, okay, what? Oh no, that's the weekday thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's so true.
So, hold on. I have a few more questions. How does the concept of mindfulness appear in your work, whether during the writing, recording, or performing stages? Do you have moments like that?
By myself, it's more of just paying attention to, I think, what I'm feeling, what my intention is, and a big one for me now lately is just like making sure I'm having fun, not taking the thing that I love and that I'm passionate about and putting stress into it that then is mirroring back at me. And I think that's where mindfulness comes into play, where you kind of sit there sometimes and I'm like, hey, remember you love this. Have fun. Like don't be too serious, even though there is a fulfillment point. There is a like I want to express myself a certain way, but at the same time it's like music is the one thing I've never let go because it attaches me to being a child still, and being a child is being free. And I think being mindful in a group is having that same mindfulness you would apply to yourself and treat yourself and do that for everybody else, and also give the freedom of space for everybody else too to exist there, which isn't always the easiest thing to do. But if you have, I think, that set intention and having that mindfulness to begin with, it makes things a little lighter, you know?
Yeah, that makes sense. I like the way you say that. All right, I have one last question. What advice would you give to another artist who is looking to connect with a more deep spiritual part of themselves, and so how would they channel that through their work?
I think it would first start with before even finding a spiritual aspect in your work, but to allow that to start to bleed into your creativity and your music, your art, whatever it ends up being, is to be vulnerable. To first be vulnerable and honest with yourself. Because if you could get into a place, for example, my studio back in Portland is a room inside a building that has 50 other rooms, and the walls aren't the thickest in the world. So it's like, I know when I'm recording and I'm singing into a mic and I have to have everything off, there's people in that building that hear me singing to the deepest part. But I got to a place where I just stopped caring, because I'm like, ultimately what matters is what I put into this song. I don't need to be thinking about the dude 10 that I don't know 10 feet away in a room. Oh my God, he could hear like my soul right now, instead of like, yeah, hear my soul. I don't care. This is real. This is far more real what wants to come out right now than what I think you think of me. So I think it's really important to get to a place where you don't care what other people think of you, and you express yourself fully to a very vulnerable place. And when that happens, like, spirit just automatically starts moving through you. And even the people that might be judging or like, oh, or whatever, will all of a sudden start asking you questions and listening, because they're like, this person is tapping into something. And that's all the greats, all the artists we love, all the music we're really into, that last that we go back to, that's what you hear in it. I think that's what you truly you identify with. That you start to hear this spirit. There's this connection, like, this person's feeling it. They are not holding back. They're going full into it, and they're expressing themselves and on a plane that isn't just your day to day.
I hear you. Yeah, once we recorded this thing and we got so in the zone, I was with my pianist, and when we listened to it, actually I remember while doing our improv on his, on the piano that he had, for that new song. Like, something was coming out. I didn't know where it was coming out from, and I was like, I'm not sure I can actually do what is coming out. And I was like, no, don't overthink it. Just let it come out. And there was not even at once the thought about my roommate. There was not at all at any point thinking about my the people living underneath. Like, no, there was just him. Not even him. There was the notes.
Yeah.
And whatever that thing was coming out, and we listened to it, I was like, who's singing?
That's the best.
I was like, I don't know. Like, you listen to the final minute, I'm like, I can't do that, so that's not me. But yeah, there was like, you're completely locked out of the world. It's like you're not even in this realm anymore.
Right.
You're just like, there is that music, those frequencies.
Yeah, you become it. And I've learned over time, just with art in general, doing solos. I didn't do anything solo until 4 years ago, and that process and that journey really taught me a valuable lesson of always being in that place and always being willing to express myself fully. And I've learned, like, I guess to shorten that up is, be the art, don't make the art.
I like that.
Become it, be that thing, don't be the thing making it, because you identify more with it and then you care more. Where I try to just become that, and I think that works best for me. And I've learned that over time, especially when it comes to vocals, because I don't think I'm like a great singer by any means, but I think what makes my singing good is that I go to that place all the time. Mm-hmm. I'm expressing myself, and when I go live and do a show, I have to come from that place, or I can't sing like that. And that's the way my vocals sound good. It's the expression, it's the energy, it's the emotion,
and getting rid of your mind, basically.
Oh yeah.
Do you feel like when you're in that zone, it's very similar to meditating?
Yeah. It's like it's loud meditation versus quiet meditation,
I like that. Well, thank you so very much about doing this interview today. That was kind of fun to talk about this. I wish you good luck on the upcoming tour.
Thank you.
To anyone interested, if you live on the West Coast, know that from February 29th through March 11th, there is an exciting tour from Small Link Sing Ship. The first one in 5 years?
5 years, yeah.
Jeez. And so go check out on their website, smallleaks.com, the dates, and book your tickets.
Come on out. It's going to be crazy.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
All right, you guys, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this interview, my very first interview on a podcast, and that it sparked some inspiration on how to proceed for your next creative project. If you have any questions or remarks, feel free to reach out on my website, amandinelrh.com, or join me on my Instagram, Dina_Leroux. And if you're ready to dive deeper in your spiritual and mindful journey, I invite you to visit again my website where you'll find this transformative 10-day journey through the chakras. It is a mix of guided meditation and sound healing designed to help you open your chakras, locate and get rid of blockages so that you can better pursue all the things that your soul truly wants to manifest. It has helped over 5,000 people, and I'm so grateful that I have helped so many people, and I hope that it will help you as well. So that's it for today. Thank you again for tuning in, and until next time.